Hey everybody, it's Juggz again, and we're back, but we're not alone. Well, we are kind of alone, because we've got Rob. Hi, Rob.
Hello. Hi.
Hello, Rob, the honest wargamer. But we don't have Louise.
Oh.
Missing Louise.
Yeah.
But we upgraded.
Yeah.
Really?
We upgraded.
We've upgraded.
We got something hotter than Louise today.
Really? Am I Louise substitute? I'm your,
Well, you sat in a chair.
I'm your fluffer for the afternoon.
Could be.
Let's see how much you can derail the
Well, I'm
conversation.
sorry, Louise was the only one I wanted to see, so I'm very disappointed.
I'd agree with that. That's why most people come on the show.
Outrageous, to be honest. Yeah.
We have the mighty Mark Gibbons. Now, a lot of people probably won't know who Mark Gibbons is, and if they don't, get off the channel. Just get off. We don't need you.
Or
we do need you. Come back. Don't go. Don't go. I'm joking. It's fine. It's fine. Mark, so just in a brief sort of way, describe what you do and what you've done for Games Workshop.
What have I done for Games Workshop?
What have you done for
Games Workshop done to me?
I will just keep holding up like cool bits of art while we do it.
I mean, we could do like an emotional montage here, you know, like with a bunch of images. And yeah, you are like, people describe you as a seminal artist. It's responsible for some of the art direction. Some of. I mean, not all. I don't think you would like ever claim all. But some of the art direction that we consider modern or classic Warhammer to be, as well as huge in the video game industry as well.
Yeah.
And you now run your own, you're part of your own business as well now. So thanks for being here.
Thanks.
You're slightly too impressive for us.
Well, it was a wild take when it was like...
Let's see what we can do to bring that down dramatically over the next hour or so, shall we?
Got a message.
I actually think my favourite thing that I know about you is that you used to be a bassist in a glam metal band.
Yeah.
Is that right?
What?
Yeah.
Yeah.
In the 80s.
Yeah, what were they called?
When I had the glorious locks. We were called Ragdolls.
Ragdolls.
Yeah.
So I had a question from one of my patrons called Nick, and he says, what's going off with Ragdolls? And I was like, so I started typing that in to Google to find like Mark Gibbons Ragdolls, and all I got was pictures of cats. And
yeah. Fucking cats come along and steal our thunder. That's what happens. And they're not Thundercats.
No, they're not Thundercats. And I was like, I'm not learning anything from this this one thing.
We even lost our Facebook account because apparently an American all-girl Aerosmith tribute band called Ragdolls took off. And I guess through the Aerosmith link, and one of the girls in the band had been on America's Got Talent or something.
Right.
So they didn't care that we'd been a band since the mid-80s. So now it's not yours anymore.
That's outrageous. That's outrageous. Because that's where I knew you from, Ragdolls.
Right.
And it was only after they're like, do you know the guy from Ragdolls does art? And I was like,
the pennies dropped now. Oh, you're that guy.
was that the same Mark?
Man.
That's crazy.
Yeah. Well,
I don't believe that for a second.
We put our debut album out about 8 or 9 years ago, which is I think it's the longest time a band has gone from forming to putting their first record out.
That's amazing.
That's quite.
Did you ever watch that? There was a documentary, and I can't remember the name of it now. Of like it was like a band. They were on like their 17th album. It came out a few years ago.
Oh, Anvil, maybe.
Oh, was it that? Yeah,
the story of Anvil.
Yeah, that was it. Did you watch that?
Yeah, oh yeah.
It was fantastic. Peachy, the story was it was like a band that had been going since the 80s, and they inspired some of the big bands in the 80s, and even headlined before. Some big bands headlined for them, I think, was the story. Oh. And then they were still, but then they never really made it. Then 17 years later, or 20, 30 years, I can't remember, they were like still trying. And they made a documentary about it. And it was a little tragic, a little sad, a little happy, but it was
but also, the success of it gave him their moment in the spotlight.
Yeah.
Long deserved, but never achieved.
Really it was really interesting kind of cycle as a story. Yeah, for sure. Where did your story begin?
Hang on, we're talking about the band or we're talking about both? I think let's not have this an hour of Ragdoll.
I've got a question actually related.
Your audience are going to go, I don't come here.
Did you do any album art?
Yeah, for the album that we actually got around to doing, yes.
Yes.
The cover
I'll be gutted if you haven't.
Well, there we go.
That's fantastic.
But that is kind of where my story started, because back in the late 80s, when I was still in the band, I began working as a freelance artist to keep me in guitar strings and pay for rehearsal rooms and stuff like that. And as those two things fought for my time and my attention, I just got to the point where I realized I'd reached 25 and my band was not a multi-platinum award-winning universal
Still
touring
time.
act. And I thought, I should, because the art career can go a little longer.
Yeah.
In theory. So I thought, all right, I'm just gonna dive into the art thing. And by that point, I'd been freelancing for Games Workshop because I was doing stuff. I started off in local TV doing art for kids shows and things like that. And
that took a turn.
advertising posters for banks and insurance companies because you take anything that comes your way.
Course,
I painted a life-size fiberglass horse to go on a marquee outside a hotel at one point, and it sat up there looking glorious for about a month, and then Wales played Scotland in the rugby, and the Scottish rugby fans climbed the marquee, took the horse down, and threw it in the taff, and floating out to sea, legs up, it was last seen.
So it could be somewhere in the world to like a desert island.
Yeah, it's
just there.
Tom Hanks is there, Wilson's there, and there's
this big plastic horse.
Insane.
But when I managed to get some freelance work for Workshop, that was the work that I wanted to do because I've been a hobbyist all my life. 1978, I think, Star Wars and Dungeons and Dragons, same year for me. So that was it. Because as an artist, it was kind of, I suddenly had something to do with my art. If I was drawing stuff, I go, right, for my D&D campaign, I'm drawing the characters, I'm drawing maps, I'm doing stuff like that. And that, from that point on, was always kind of what I wanted to do with my art if the music thing didn't work out.
Am I right in thinking that you're self-taught? You only did a couple of weeks of college?
Yeah. I foolishly dropped out after...
Do you consider that to be a foolish choice, looking back?
Because I missed out on picking up some of the basics. Some of the basics I still don't know.
Well, can I as someone who went through that process, you learn, I learned a fair amount at college.
Yeah.
And then you go to university and then you leave thicker than what you went in.
Oh.
So
I did 2 weeks,
learned nothing.
Yeah, 2 weeks of the foundation course, and then it was like I painted with custard and gravy, and like,
sounds classic. Did you colour in peppers? We always used to have to draw peppers. Hate drawing peppers. Apples, peppers.
I don't remember. We did some life drawing stuff, but 2 weeks you're barely through this sort of freshers. Before you
I think there's some. Part of me, if I was to go back, I probably wouldn't have gone to uni for sure. I would have stayed. I would have done the college thing because they give you, they broaden your horizons so much that you become a bit of everything, not a master one. Whereas I think certainly I was inspired by your like black and white ink stuff. I mean, obviously your coloured illustration stuff's amazing, but I used to copy so much of your stuff.
Right.
I was trying to find it today before I came because I did like the long beard because I love the dwarf army.
Yeah,
right. And there's a long beard who's like his beard really trails down to the sides, and I used to copy that all the time. Not trace, but just have it next to me and just like draw it and stuff. And I was really proud of it, and I wanted to be an illustrator for Workshop based off like using you as an example. Obviously, there's like other influences like Frank Frazetta. I used to love big titted women. Obviously, Conan.
I mean,
we all like that.
That's fine.
Rob keeps going on about it, so I'm just living it.
It's interesting that you are you are self-taught though, but you would want to go back.
Yeah,
I find that interesting.
Even now, I keep promising myself to take some time out and do some courses, and I do because the nature of what I do now has forced me to learn new skills and new software. But I still got my landscape work is terrible. My color work's not. Thank you for saying nice things about it, but my color work, I'm never confident in it. Pretty confident in my black and white stuff, my values and my composition. I think pretty solid. My color stuff not good. Landscapes are terrible, and I want to go. Let's take a week or a couple of weeks and go either go and do a physical course or like a cool digital one, and I do very little 3D stuff, and 3D would be handy to have that for just in basic blockouts of buildings and stuff, and then taking it into Photoshop and painting it and stuff. And I think I should really make time to
so my friend Steve, he wanted to be a sculptor because he was an army painter with me in the studio, and he went on to he basically got ZBrush and then just watched a load of YouTube videos, and that's how he learned to do 3D.
Yes.
I mean that's something he was like, you should do it. I was like, I can't be bothered. I'd rather paint armies than, but there's so much value what he does and so much stuff he wants to do that was his drive. But for me, I just like painting lots of soldiers.
I do that too. I still like. I do think we'd be great to be able to model something in ZBrush, as we say in my adopted nation.
Oh!
I don't know
you're based out of LA, right?
It's south of LA.
Yeah.
South of LA.
Technically, I think it's Greater LA, but it's Orange County, Newport Beach, Costa Mesa area, which is down about 50 miles from LA proper.
Okay.
Yeah, but I've been out there now for nearly 20 years. But we're skipping ahead.
Yeah, we're skipping ahead of the story for sure.
I've got a little sort of segue. It's probably asking a question quite early, but I've had a lot of questions from the patrons because you were saying your colour work. Awesome. You weren't as proud of your colour work as other stuff. But there's that really iconic, is it Azrak the Annihilator, which is the big Chaos Warrior, Chaos Marine?
Yeah.
Because I still think that's a really cool, iconic piece of art. How did you feel when you saw that get turned into...
I actually think they're all iconic, just FYI.
Oh, yeah. Well, all right. Yeah. All right. Little Switzerland there.
That's the only thing I'm going to be able to contribute to the art conversation, the whole video. So.
I mean, they are, you're right. But I think it was... Because it was made into, I think it was Warhammer Plus. It was like one of the
subscriptions.
It was a model, yeah. It was a subscription model.
How did you? Because obviously Daz Latham copied the art to kind of match
to paint
the work.
Yeah, I'm delighted when these things pop up, and kind of was always surprised. I was pleasantly surprised when a piece of art I did 20, 30 years ago is suddenly brought back in miniature form. Because that was always my goal with anything that I did. Workshop is I hope this if it wasn't already a miniature, and in most cases it was. In most cases, the artwork I was doing was based on miniatures that had been recently sculpted. The lead-in time is always so much longer. It certainly was back then. The miniature might have been modelled 18 months. Well, no, if it was metal, it was like 3 months before it was in the shops. Yeah. If it's plastics, it was like 18 months. So the artwork only really comes along when they're putting the books together. So the lead-in time in that is tends to be shorter. So usually it's like, oh, here's the miniature. Yeah. Or at the very least, here's a bunch of sketches from Jez. Yeah. So I know what I'm doing.
I was going to say that because like one of the things in the studio, or a lot of the other companies I look at, is they tend to, like Frostgrave, for instance, they get the miniatures and they have to draw the box art of Frostgrave to match the miniatures. So it looks like how you'd build a miniature, but it's art. Which I always find really interesting. So they get all the sprues of like the Frostgrave miniatures and they literally just match all the bits for
is interesting
for like the art, and that's like part of the brief. But like when I was in the studio, there'll be like sometimes it's just like do a Space Marine, do a Phobos. Yeah. Here's some designs of armor, but like Mad Donna Alante always looked like the model, like the black and white drawing that you did. I always wondered which came first. Was it that or
in that case? I wanted to draw Madonna with guns, and then they made a miniature and named her. I think after I'd drawn. I just want to do and sort of Escher Ganger pushed to the limit.
Yeah, and she was definitely pushed to the limit.
And then they made the miniature. So,
so they actually made it based off the art.
Yeah,
that's amazing. Yeah,
but it wasn't a lot of that. There's a couple of named characters in things like the Bretonian book and the Wood Elf book. The illustrations served as the concept for the miniatures. Characters like the Green Knight.
Interesting. Because that was it Michael's first major figure after he lost his arm?
No, that's I thought that was the case, but apparently that's the myth, and he's dispelled the myth himself recently. It was the last miniature he made before the accident, I believe.
Oh, interesting. So
this is the Green Knight mini.
The Green Knight
based on the Green Knight art.
Yeah, based on the Green Knight.
Yeah, fantastic art. I love that to this day.
I thought I had the Bretonian book with me because I was like looking at that earlier.
I'm hoping that I mean, as awesome as that miniature still is, I'm also hoping it's one they do a new plastic for the old world. Because wow, what would that look like now?
Yeah, for sure.
I know with the SDS team, the Specialist Game Studio,
SDS Supremacy.
That they would keep it pretty much like it's new, it's plastified, but it's got its roots set in how it was.
It wouldn't be like an Age of Sigma upglow, which would also be cool to see.
Well, yeah. Age of Sigma Green Knight would be pretty Stormcast, but with...
No, not them.
With antlers.
You're allowed to not like them. That's okay. I made the decision recently. We're allowed to not like them. Yeah, they're like the worst lead faction ever. Because it's one of the things I cover a lot is Age of Sigmar,
right.
And a lot of the times people are like, why does it fall flat? Where does it fall flat? And there's like this kind of like tipping point thing where I think if you're in your LGS in Portugal first time and you're excited about maybe doing some miniatures,
LGS again?
Like local gaming store.
Oh, yeah. So
you're like you've decided you're going to get into the hobby and you walk in and then someone's like, I quite like these fellas, and they're like, well, we play 40k. And you're like, well, I want some friends, so I'll play 40k. Yeah. And I think 40k has reached that tipping point, but I think the Stormcast, at least in my opinion, and obviously fascinated to know what you think. I think they just fall flat. There doesn't really ever seem to be any drive when both narratively or as like a I don't know, a creation that I think is overly inspiring to anybody.
I think they were as a faction, as a concept, they were thrown into the deep end at the start of Age of Sigmar because it certainly felt like they were designed to be fantasy Space Marines.
Yeah.
Yes.
And it felt a bit cynical. I think as we're now, is it third or fourth?
Fourth edition.
Fourth, yeah.
Right. It feels like they're kind of finding their niche a little bit, and it's a little less calculated. I think I like them more now than I did back then. But I would not have a Stormcast faction myself, because I prefer the darker underbelly stuff. I prefer the orcs or the Skaven or the undead, just personally.
Yeah,
I like Cities of Sigmar though. Those miniatures are great.
That's what I said, that I think they should be the lead faction. I think that that would
Empire
be
was.
Exactly. Although I think they're pivoting away from Empire in the old world specifically, and like maybe they're centering Cathay, which is fascinating.
Interesting.
I really wish I could talk about this all day. I really wish that people would just be like, we're trying to do this. Just a simple statement of intent along with like a product would really
just be honest about it, kind of thing. Yeah.
I don't even think honest, like just hype people up. Be like, we're trying to do this. You're like, oh, that's cool.
Yeah,
I don't know. Like we might do a Green Knight soon. That's like, I'm just excited.
Yeah, because I like the new Stormcast design, the aesthetic of the sort of armor, because it's a bit more slimline. It looks a bit more realistic. Whereas, I mean, realistic as you can with a fantasy faction, but the early stuff definitely was really blocky and chunky, and Space Marines, but with swords and shields. And even the brief was make them look like Space Marines.
Yeah.
So all the paint. When we did the Oryx, the Ironjaws, it was make them look like 40k orcs.
Yeah. Well, there's a new animation out, which I've been watching on stream, and Warhammer Plus, called Sigmar's Toll, and it's kind of like a current story of what's happening in like that universe. And it's just like, it's all great. There's like Skaven, and like especially the rendering on it looks amazing. And then they're like, it's in a dark city that's on fire, and then some human Cities of Sigmar, they're putting like dirty cloths over their face, like stop the smoke, because they're like clearing the bodies up. You're like, great. And then it just turns to a Stormcast, which looks like a 1980s gladiator, right? And it looks so lame. It's like a nerd, right? And you're like, oh, like, you were so in, and it just that's my opinion, obviously. However, we really diverted.
We have,
you were like, do you know what? The band thing, it will be successful one day.
No, I just realised I had to kind of give it all up. And I just embraced the opportunity with Workshop. I just wrapped up doing illustrations for the Space Hulk supplements, Deathwing and Gene Stealer.
Amazing.
And John Blanchard said, there's an open invitation. Anytime you want to move up here full time, just let me know. So that was it. I said, right, John, I'm coming.
That's phenomenal.
So that was 92, beginning of 92.
Because I didn't know this, because we were saying before we went live that you're only in-house for like, was it till 93?
A little over a year, 92 to 93. I did not care for the daily routine.
Yeah.
Okay.
The clock in, clocking out, 9 to 5 kind of thing.
That's not part of your process.
No, I've done it over the years. It's just a bit of a strain, and it's not the most, it's not the best use of my time creatively.
Okay.
Because you went going, well, I got an idea late at night, or I want to do stuff on the weekends. And of course you can, nothing's stopping you doing it. But it's like, no, you have to be at your desk being creative at 9 o'clock in the morning. Do I really?
Do I have to?
You think you're going to get the best out of me? So there's a little bit of that. I turned into a bit of a clock watcher while I was in-house. As much as I love being, because I was at Castle Boulevard.
Yeah.
They'd not recently moved down to Castle Boulevard from Enfield Chambers, and I really loved that environment. That big open plan, raucous studio space was awesome. But I also had a girlfriend at the time, and she lived up in Grimsby, and I thought, I've got to live in Grimsby.
You don't want to do that.
Must have been love.
Did the relationship work out, or was it like, that was a wasted effort?
No, she's awesome. But no, it's I ended up moving back to Cardiff, where I'm from originally, and carried on working for Games Workshop until 97, and then video games came along.
Yeah, I'm excited to hear more about that. Can I ask about the energy? You said it was raucous. Have you got like a way that you could describe? I'm sure you've been asked this a load of times, but you could describe like what the community was like, because you're still friends with many people to this day, right? Yeah. Like what was the company, or what was the kind of creative experience like at that time?
Well, it was any kind of movie or when they show, this is what working in a sort of high pressure newspaper business is like. It's like that, because It was two stories, but it was open plan. So they had like a mezzanine gallery up the top, which was open, and a bunch of the designers and the artists were up there, often shouting down to people on the ground floor. I was on the ground for some reason. I was put on the ground floor, right next to the White Dwarf bunker, and that was mayhem constantly. Every third week. Of the month, it was like, oh fuck, with the deadlines coming, and Robin Jews is charging around.
That's never changed, by the way.
Right,
that's never changed.
Trying to get articles in and trying to get stuff finished and all that kind of stuff. So it was really fun being close to that. And then if I wanted to have a quiet moment, I'd wander upstairs and go and talk to the artists or one of the sculptors in their little alcoves or little offices and stuff that they all had up there. So it was, really fun. And over the pub for lunch. Certainly once I went freelance, and I'd come up once a month. And I'd drop the artwork off with Alan Merritt, and then me and Jez would go to the pub. And then I'd get back on the train, half pissed, come back to Cardiff or wherever I happen to be living around the day.
That's perfect.
That sounds
That's
great.
a perfect life, yeah. I got up at 10, I dropped off some art, went to the pub. Great life. That's amazing.
Pretty much.
Did you say it was quite a creative environment at that time in that place? Because I know when I worked in the studio, it started off when it was the design studio, because it ended up being split into all these other ones. But it felt like a hub of creativity, because you had I was sat next to some, like the heavy metal painters. I was sat next to Dave and like Mark Jones, who made scenery.
Yeah.
And then there was like the sculptors just to the right of me, and ahead of me was like writers, and then a bit further down there was artists. And it just felt like quite a collaborative, chilled out.
Yeah, everybody was in the same space.
Yeah.
And of course we were separate from the factory, the business side of it, which was still out in where were they at the time?
Well, there was Wiz Beach, wasn't there? And then there was Eastwood.
Eastwood, sorry. Yeah, Eastwood. So the factory was out there, and we were still in the city centre.
Yeah.
So yeah.
Yeah, because I remember with my brother looking for, because we were like, Games Workshop's in Nottingham. And we went all the way down Castle Boulevard, and we found like the Inland Revenue building, but we could never find Games Workshop. But we wouldn't have been allowed in anyway because it was a studio.
Yeah.
So regardless if we did find it, but we spent like a good hour and a half walking up and down.
Trying to find it. Yeah. That's adorable.
Yeah,
that's adorable.
There was no sign
at
all. No.
And brother was like, we must be down this way. And I was like 10. And I was like, it might have been 10, it might be a bit older.
Well, I walked past Enfield Chambers today, and I think it needs a blue plaque outside it or something.
It does,
you know?
Yeah.
You talked about being a bit of a clock watcher. Like, obviously, you're about to tell us about how you then went into working in a lot of computer games and being responsible for loads of amazing stuff. But did that carry on? Like when you worked, started in the games industry, were you like actually because I'm not artistic. So a schedule to me is fine, but I could understand why being like, it's time now to be funny. It's time to be creative is really hard.
Yeah. I learned how to better manage my time by the time I got into video games, particularly because I was employed mainly as a concept artist. So I would have half a dozen pieces of art on the go. So I could always, if I was getting fed up with one or frustrated by it, or it was just too much of a slog, I could put it aside for a while and pick up another sketch or something looser and just dive into that. So that's what I would always have at video games. So when I was at somewhere like Blizzard, where again, it's, you expected to be at your desk for regular hours, I always had so many things on the go. It was much, much easier. And I think had I thought about that at workshop, had I thought about why don't I just have several pieces in development so I can jump between them, so to keep my brain sort of interested the whole time.
That's interesting.
Because that's also what happens when you're doing illustrations. You get that initial drawing phase, and then sort of the careful lining, and those are always quite interesting. And then there's the slog of the filling it all in, painting it or shading it all in, and that's just work.
That's work. Yeah. That's the graft.
See, I've got a thing about you've got me thinking about it as well, because even though it's a different skill set, painting toy soldiers, doing illustration, I think Workshop got an extra 50% out of me for free because I would be there 9 till 5:30,
right,
doing painting, building the units, painting the units, but all that thought process was done in my evenings, the weekends, coming up with ideas how am I going to paint the outdoor farming, what I want to do something different. Let's have a look through this book. Let's have a look through the book that's been working on here. So I think all the prep and all the sort of concepting was done in my own time, journeys back and forth and stuff. So they actually got a lot more out of. And I would say, would you still say that's the case now?
And I think there's the expectation that if you're creative, you don't turn it on or off. It's there bubbling away in the background the whole time. Yeah. And certainly part of my process these days is I start most of my days with a long walk, because I live on the back of a nature preserve.
Oh, nice.
So I start my day most days with a walk, with the expectation that processes, pieces of art I've got in development in my head will improve at some point during that walk or at the end of that walk. An idea will pop into my brain because I've disengaged my active thought. I'm just walking around. And by the end of that walk, I'll have a solution to a particular problem I'm battling with in the art. So that's still part of my day. It's part of my work day, I feel, even though I'm not sat at the computer or anything.
Yeah, I mean, I after I drop my lad off, I go for walks, and sometimes there's a few people that want to come and walk with me, but I kind of need that space on my own sometimes. But I like, yesterday I went for a walk. Was it yesterday? I can't remember now, it's not important. But I went for a walk, and I've now given myself so much more work for my videos because I'm doing this like little story thread of like, I've mentioned to you, like I'm doing this how to play, but I'm doing it like a sequence of like 10-minute videos, which is a bit of a story time, but also how to play.
Nice.
It's a game called 5 Leagues from the Borderlands. It's kind of like D&D mixed with miniatures. It's just really fun. It's basically like old Necromunda, really. Like you're doing all the table roll and stuff. But I've made this like party of mercenaries, and they are on a quest, and each, like the first episode is like making a warband. The next episode is how do you fight a battle. The episode after that is the resolution of like the post-battle sequence. But now in my head I'm like, I can do this game, which is a big battle, and I can draw to like a massive climatic end. So I've spent like the last couple of days just making massive lists of loads of soldiers that I want to paint, and I'm like giving myself so much more work, and I don't know why I did that. Yeah. So sometimes those long walks can be dangerous. For sure. So dangerous. So much work.
There's an interesting study that just came out of Harvard actually about the power of boredom. In order for the brain to start processing thoughts on world building or like problem solving, it needs to be at rest. Like, and obviously, mainly it was a study around the impact of phones. Yeah, you know, like the deficit in people's attention spans. And how people have got like reduced time, like to think about anything, but actually like the power of being bored. I think we talked about this on the other Juggz as well. Like a lot of like music from the 50s and 60s came from a lot of like line factory workers, like like rock and roll and stuff, because they're just on the line 8-12 hours a day, bored, and they're just thinking their inactive brain is starting to produce those thoughts, which I think was quite interesting. Yeah. I'll try and find, if I find it, I'll leave it in the comments below, but probably I won't. At least I'm telling the truth. So how did you end up starting in computer games, video games?
I'd been a video game player, but it wasn't until I think the birth of the PlayStation, which was about 95, I think, I'm just playing games myself, like games like Tomb Raider and Resident Evil, that I realized actually these are at a point now where somebody with my skills could potentially get work as a concept artist.
Oh, interesting.
So that's what happened. I contacted like a recruitment company, and what was happening then was that concept artists were generally getting hired for like 3 months at a time at the start of a project, and then that would be it. Because the feeling was we don't need them the whole time. We just need them to help us get the ideas down, and then where we go. So that's what I started doing. I worked with one of IDOS's third-party developers, and I kind of became unofficial art director there for about 18 months. I really enjoyed that, and then that led on to a job at Sony in Cambridge, where they were just beginning work on a PlayStation 2 game. So they hired me there as a concept artist, but that was full time. Oh, and then I became a lead.
What was the game?
There. It's called Primal. PS2. But the studio was most famous for making the medieval game.
Yeah.
On the original PlayStation. So Primal was the first PS2 game. We went on to do a couple of different versions of medieval. We pitched the PS2 version, and Sony never went for it. But we did the PSP, the little handheld one. We made a version of the game for that. And then the next license, they wanted to do a license. They wanted to give my team a license. And we got the license for 24, the TV show.
Amazing.
Oh, fantastic.
And I'm like, most of my day, I know I manage an art team, but most of my day is spent doing concept art. I don't have to, Jack Bauer doesn't need me to do concept art for him. I think, and all during my time at Sony, I continued to do freelance work for Games Workshop for the trading card games that they were doing at the time. Yeah. So I just reached out to John Blanche and I was quite upfront with my bosses at Sony and said, I think I might take a break from this project. I don't think I want to be doing 24. I might go back to Nottingham with Games Workshop for a while, and then maybe come back later. So I went back to Nottingham for my second stint at the studio. The studio at that point had merged with the factory and moved into Lenton.
Yeah.
Very different experience, I found.
And what projects did you work on when you came back the second time?
Well, I was in the key design department, which was a cross-discipline team that they'd set up. They had artists, writers, sculptors, miniature painters, all in it as a sort of a overseeing, or sort of a resource for the actual development teams, project teams to come and sort of talk to and bounce ideas around and get us to go away and do concepts or do some paint schemes and all that kind of stuff. So it was the Black Templars was the first big project I worked on myself with Graham McNeil.
Would that have been for the one that had the plastic Dark Elder on the plastic black?
No, that was third edition. This was for fourth edition.
Oh, okay.
This was the first proper codex.
Oh, fantastic! Yeah, that's pretty dark as well.
Yeah,
a lot more grim.
So that was, and then I did some dwarf stuff.
Yeah,
very cool. FYI.
Yeah, you love
very cool.
dwarves.
All of the dwarf
what
stuff.
What else did I do? And then some illustration stuff for like the Tower getting their first codex as well. So I did some bits and pieces for that. And then they decided at Games Workshop, the Lord of the Rings bubble finally burst.
Oh yeah.
They decided they didn't need a lot of us.
Oh yeah.
So out we went.
Yeah.
But I had already applied for a job at Blizzard at that point because Andy Chambers had gone over there to work as the creative director on StarCraft 2. And I said, "Hey, Andy, they've had my portfolio like for about 18 months. Can you see what's happened to it? See if anybody's interested in it." And apparently it'd just been sat on the wrong desk for 18 months. So it got given to the right people, Chris Metzen and Sam Didier, and they're on the phone like 2 days later saying, "When you want to come over for an interview?" So that's what happened.
It requires you to nudge someone to get on the right
Can
desk.
you please chase this up?
That's insane.
That's
so
great.
when you say the Lord of the Rings bubble burst, was that when they basically laid off loads of staff?
Yes.
'Cause I was in retail at that
Should
point.
we be more clear about what happened in that time? Like for people who might not know.
Yeah. So, I mean, obviously, you lived that. I was in retail at the time, but obviously, Lord of the Rings had been and gone as movies. And
Games Workshop got it as an IP and miniatures to sell, right?
And at that time, from a retail perspective, and I remember Mark Wells, the CEO at the time, referred to it as killing orcs. It was just people just coming in to buy stuff. It was like hordes of people just coming in all the time. Money was being thrown at the counter. Derby store was like a 2-man store, 3-man store with like a part-timer originally. We ended up having like 7 staff during that like period of like the Lord of the Rings movies. But then after the films had gone, there was the Partworks, which was D'Agostini did Partworks Battle. I forget what it was called now, something Middle-earth related. And that was fine for a little bit of time. But then after that, it just like sales were dropping. I mean, as the store manager, you're getting nagged at because they're like, why is it not like for like? Why are you like minus 40%? It's like, I don't know, we're trying our best to like, run events. But obviously, everywhere was having the same downward turn from a finance point of view.
Well, I think that the feeling was, certainly from the players at the time, that Games Workshop had abandoned the traditional audience. They all the time and money and all the investment, all the miniatures, it was all going on Lord of the Rings and not 40k or fantasy.
Yeah.
So when after Return of the King, when I started back there as Return of the King was coming out, and once that audience, which wasn't, we're very much into the Middle Earth battle games, but once the interest in that faded away and they moved on to the next thing, Workshop found all their traditional fans were now playing War Machine or something, or Infinity or something.
They've forgotten about them a little bit. That's interesting.
I mean, Warhammer, which is probably my favourite system. I'm more of a fantasy. I have a question regarding that in a minute as well. But yeah, fantasy has always been my like big thing. I really like fantasy. I love sci-fi as well. But Warhammer became like the third core game. It used to be like one of the top ones, and 40k obviously became like the big thing. That was like the number one. Then Warhammer was like doing quite well, but Lord of the Rings came along and then just pushed Warhammer right down to the bottom. So we would do these Sunday beginner events to like teach kids how to play the different game systems. We had like a little course, like 1 week you paint, 1 week you play, 1 week you build, and it was like on average one person for Warhammer each Sunday. So you'd have to like get a staff member to play against them. So you've lost a staff member because you can't just have the two of them like because like 40k you could have like 4 or 5 and they could all work together and like bounce off each other, but you'd have to dedicate a whole staff member for the Warhammer guy because he wants to learn, but there's no one else there to riff off with as well.
Yeah, one of the things
it was a shame
because I run a channel also talking about the old world now, before it got relaunched. I started the channel, and me and my co-host Val, we were talking about it a lot, and I was like, "This is going to be huge," and everyone was like, "Oh no way! It was never popular. Like no one wants to pay that many minis, do many things." I was like, "I don't think you understand. It's kind of what I was talking about with Stormcast. It's the most easily understandable thing when you walk into a room and you see some blocks of infantry and a monster, maybe, right? And you're like, oh, they're elves. That's dwarfs. Like it's the most easily understandable thing for someone who is not remotely interested in the thing. Like, whereas when you show them anything else, I think even Lord of the Rings stuff, you're a bit like,
we referred to it as the brown game after a while because everything was just if you squinted, it was just a tone of brown.
What Lord of the Rings?
Because that's when the brown rims really came into being as well. I think was like Lord of the Rings kind of set off because they had to look realistic to match the movies.
Yeah.
But when you like squint at Rohan, even though it's green, it's like it's a bit brown. You look at orcs, it's a bit brown. Even Men of Gondor, it's a bit brown.
It's a bit brown. Yeah, everything's a bit brown, so fighting each other.
Brown game.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, you can't paint your orcs like goblins. Goblins.
I find that's, and so I said this is going to be huge, and everyone's like, no, you don't understand, it wasn't doing very well, and we could talk about that forever, and I've got a bunch of things I'd love to say about that, but I said, you don't understand, like I run events every weekend, I know that people just want to see something that makes sense with their eyeballs. Like that's what 80% of the audience want, and I think fantasy does that really well.
I always love to see a fully painted fantasy army in the blocks, infantry blocks and cavalry blocks and a couple of big monsters. When you see an army like that, it beats any single miniature, even any sort of beautiful 75 millimeters bust painted. It's like no. I mean, just show me.
Give me that.
I love you for saying that as an army painter. Just give me one positive.
Yeah, screw you, Louise.
Teeny tiny little Imperialis Legion guy.
The miniature painting I do now, even though I don't play very often, I'm always going, I want to paint an army, I want to paint a unit. I don't want to paint one miniature, even if all I end up painting is one miniature in that unit. It's with the goal of ultimately putting a force on the table that I can play a game with.
I mean, before we went live as well, we were chatting about Dave Andrews and because he's been super influential on my painting. Man. But one of the things I learned from Dave, which has stuck with me for years, which is you're painting a unit, not a series of individuals that go in the unit. And I was like, what does that mean? But he'd always, like, his blocks of infantry just always looked really cool, but it was always just like base coats, apart from the face, loads of effort on the banner, and then the base in itself. That's where the effort goes, because then you're looking at the spectacle of the unit. You're not looking at, oh, that's a really nice front rank champion. Oh, I really like that spearman. He's really well painted. It's like, no, you're not doing it for that. You're doing it for the block. You're looking at as the block, not a series of individuals within the block.
Yeah, absolutely.
And I learned so much from that man.
That's what I was like about Dave. He's always so much more right than Ali. That's what I've always
thought. Don't listen to him, Ali. I don't want another text message saying I'm wrong.
I told you, that's what he told me to tell you.
No, I love it. It's great.
So after you left workshop, did you go back to games, or did you have any big inspiration at that moment? Was that like a crux point? Or you're like, okay, on to the next thing? Like, what was your process there? After you left workshop after the Lord of the Rings bubble?
Lord of the Rings situation. Because would you say you went back to Blizzard?
That's when I went. When I went to. Well, yeah. I mean, it's so often the case. After my services were no longer required as a full timer at Games Workshop.
Yeah.
They were still very happy to continue to employ me as a freelancer, doing illustrations for the trading card games.
Panned out as like full-time work.
pretty much.
Well done, lads. Good business decisions.
A different department is paying me, so that's what's important. And then it was not a tough decision to make to go and work full-time at Blizzard.
No, of course.
Just up sticks and move to California.
Yeah, and that would have been at the point maybe like Blizzard's maybe height. Is that fair to say?
World of Warcraft had been out for less than a year at that point. So it just exploded.
It was about to reach its golden era, right?
Yes, They were the studio were working on Burning Crusade.
Okay.
Plus Diablo 3, which is what I got hired to do originally, art direct Diablo 3.
Wow.
Which I spent a year doing.
That was my
That's
first
incredible.
involvement in Diablo, I think.
Right,
was Diablo
yeah.
3,
I did
so.
not have a good time, so I didn't.
Did you not?
No.
Okay.
I enjoyed doing concept art for it,
Yeah.
but that's not what they hired me to do. They hired me to art direct the team, and
Oh, wow.
the art team at the time did not appreciate art direction. They did not want, because they'd been up at Blizzard North, which was an independent studio, and then Blizzard shut that down and offered anyone who wanted a job a new position at Blizzard South, or the main
Yeah.
studio, and they had to leave San Francisco and come down to Orange County in Southern California, which is not as sexy, and they did not like that. They didn't like being told what to do. No, I shouldn't say they universally, but there was an element of resistance. They saw themselves very much as freedom fighters underneath the tyranny of the imperial tyranny that was Blizzard, which is crazy because Blizzard was such a great place to work.
Oh, really?
It was amazing. It was fantastic.
Okay.
So generous and so encouraging.
Can I ask a question? Because I don't know. What does art direction mean, like in that capacity, like as a job role? Like
It's more managing a team.
okay,
You will have you may have like a regular line of work as well. For me, it was concept art. You might be a 3D artist or an animator. You might still do a bit of that.
Yeah.
You might have a specialty, but basically you are scheduling the team, checking in on the staff. It's far more of a production than a
Admin as
creative
well.
job.
Okay.
In my experience,
All right, that's interesting.
So
in a big studio for
in
sure.
a big studio.
in a similar vein, because I kind of did that with army painters. I was an army painter, and then I moved to managing army painters, and I found it really hard to move from creative to admin.
Yeah.
I got into my stride, but then I became less creative and more admin focused.
Yeah.
And I found that really hard to then, because I was craving to do like painting again, and like, which is why I moved back to like doing that. But how did you find like?
Yeah, I didn't get on with it. And after a year, I said, I don't want to do this anymore. Find something else for me to do, or send me back to the UK. And they found me something else to do, which is good of them.
That's great. That's really good.
Yeah. So I moved on to the. I went away for 18 months then to lick my wounds effectively in Chris Metzen's creative development team, which meant I was on loan to all the other departments to do some marketing art, some concept art, some bits and pieces like that.
Cool.
And during that time, the WoW team had started working on Wrath of the Lich King.
Best one.
And I got to
Just
do
FYI.
6 months of monster design for that.
Amazing.
Which was
Did you do
absolutely the best
Sindragosa?
time. No,
Hey,
she was done by the cinematics team because they needed her design well in advance because it takes so long to do the cinematics.
Okay, yeah, that
they
makes
nabbed
sense.
her first.
Yeah.
I did. Who did I do? Lord Marrowgar.
Oh, cool.
Was one of my favorite ones.
Very cool.
I did the Vrykul. The Giants. I did the Fire Giants. And
Also
Frost
cool.
Giants and
All
stuff.
very cool.
And at the end of that time, they said, "Oh, would you like to join the WoW team full time as our concept artist?" Because they didn't have a full time concept artist.
Oh, wow.
What they had was a bunch of very skilled artists who are animators or texture painters or modelers who also did concept work. They said, "Well, we'd like to bring you on to be the only guy who's only doing concept art." So that was I did that for about 4 years then.
That's incredible.
So that was for Cataclysm and Mists of Pandaria, and then the start of Warlords of Draenor.
Yeah.
And then I buggered off up the road to Riot because they were poaching staff left, right, and centre.
Yeah.
What did Riot doing? Again,
League of Legends.
Oh,
Yeah.
fantastic!
Yeah.
Thank you. Yeah.
And Arcane, which is incredible.
Yes.
Yes, absolutely incredible. Yeah. So what was it about Riot? We'll ignore, like, I assume, a huge paycheck. But
Yeah, ignore that. I couldn't.
we'll ignore that. Yeah, you probably couldn't. What was it about Riot that what were they trying to do? Like, why were they?
Well, what was interesting, particularly to me, is that they were putting together a world building team.
Yes.
And they had no world to build at that point. So it was like from the ground up. They had League of Legends. But League of Legends was very much focused on the
Gameplay.
the fields of justice, the game itself.
Yeah.
And they had all these crazy disparate range of characters, none of whose backgrounds kind of intersected in any kind of way. So they said, we want to build a team that will build the world beyond the game.
Yeah.
For all sorts of future IPs and other projects.
Was it called The World Beyond? It was called that? Was it called something like that? I think I read this earlier.
Runeterra is the game
place,
world, and it was like, okay, well, we've got all these factions that all these fighters belong to, but we don't really know much. We know obviously from the range of characters that, in those factions. We got a vague idea what they are. We know Shadow Islands is all undead. We know Bilgewater is full of pirates. But we don't really know what that world is like and the depth of it. So I got brought in a very small team. There's like 6 or 7 of us, artists and writers, to build that world up.
That must have been incredibly creative because at that point, League of Legends is like, I remember reading a fact that maybe it's 2018 that the League of Legends World Final was watched by more people than live in France.
Wow.
There's like more people
insane.
There's more people that play League of Legends than play basketball. So, it's huge.
It's mad.
Yeah.
I tried to get good at playing it.
Oh, I'm interested in this. Could you please tell me your experience?
I've never played League of Legends. I'm aware of it. I know like a bunch of the characters and stuff, but I've never actually.
Do you know
played
what the game is?
Is it? Do they call? It's got a particular type of name. It's not like an RPG.
It's called a MOBA.
Tower defense. Is that?
Yeah, it's called a MOBA.
Oh, yes, yeah.
And the idea is there's 2 home bases. You start with 5 players each.
Yeah.
There's a top, middle, and bottom lane, and a jungle, and then you basically have some minions that go from your bases to their bases, and you kind of kill theirs and kill their towers, and eventually go and take over their base.
I'm getting PTSD now as you're describing it. I'm like, the minions.
I'm really describing it.
The minions.
I'm really describing it for the people at home who are like, "What is that?"
What is this?
So, what did you play? Top? What did you play?
Everything badly.
So does every League of Legends player, just as an FYI.
I picked Ziggs because I quite like the character, cute. But he's not an easy character to play, which I didn't realise. But I was always the lame duck. I was always the weak link in my team. I was the handicap. If I was on your team, you would have a harder time winning. And I spent a year trying to get competent at it. At the end of which I said, "I'm sorry, guys. You just got to stop asking me to play. It's terrible." And from that point, I became a little bit of an outsider because it's such a cult there. It's because everybody plays, everybody is hardcore, and as soon as you go, I can't be hardcore. Sorry, I've tried. I don't have the reaction.
I've got to burst your bubble.
I get flustered.
Workshop's the same. As soon as you start talking about historicals, suddenly like, oh, you're one of them, are you?
So my experience of working a workshop, it was that no one played. Like my experience, like because I came to workshop as like someone they hired to do videos about gaming,
right? And
they almost none of them played. Like even the people who wrote the rules, it seemed like so. I found that really weird, or they didn't play maybe in the capacity that you were considered to be playing. Like they're like I played a game 6 months ago. That's enough. Was my experience at my time when I was there.
I can see where you come. My experience, certainly like when I was in marketing, was a lot of the managers perceived to play and made you feel guilty if you didn't play, but probably actually never actually played.
Okay.
So they're very good at coming across as someone that plays a lot and they know a lot of stuff about the things that's coming out. But when you probably boiled it down, they probably just read a book a couple of nights before and didn't actually play actively.
Because the corporate culture I thought was odd. Again, not really being someone from corporate culture. And I'd love maybe your insight a little bit. Because I know for Riot at least, like there's some active playing is encouraged maybe even during work time.
Oh, constantly during work time.
Yeah.
So you'll spend at least 2 or 3 hours of your day playing the game. And if a teammate says, "Hey, do you want to play a game?"
Yeah.
You're expected to down tools and play the game. Well, that was 10 years ago, you certainly were.
Wow.
Yeah. Well, that's when I last would have heard about it. And what's interesting, it's so weird that there aren't whole days dedicated inside the business at GW to play, or at least teach and showcase.
There was a time in the studio because you'd be encouraged to go into the playtest room and do some playing with the new rules that were available. Let's say like Underworlds was out of like, we need to get people playing. So you were encouraged to go in there, like Lord of the Rings when they did like Battle Hosts, which was like an add-on pack for this War of the Ring. I still really like that game system. It was really good fun. But there was always stuff set out. You were always encouraged to go and play.
Okay.
But you didn't get more time back from your schedule.
Right, yeah.
the first time I went to the States was on for US Games Day with Phil Kelly.
Oh, nice.
Love Phil Kelly.
Love Phil Kelly.
Love Phil Kelly.
Which Games Day was that one then?
Would have been 2004.
Oh yeah, okay, that's That's probably might be where he met his partner.
And yes, it was.
Yeah,
I think so.
Wife.
Oh no, that might have been a later one because I was already living over there. I think at that point. So no, because he came out to California and that's where he met her at the beach. Very romantic story.
That's a cute story.
No, so this was early. This was a good few years earlier. And after the games day, Workshop had arranged for us to all go to their local battle bunker, and Phil was going to play. He was going to play the little tournament going. Phil would play, take on all comers in the shop. Yeah. And he destroyed them. Because talk about clearly a hardcore player who knows the rules. And this one guy that he's just smashed. He was getting so pissed off with Phil, and Phil was just being charming. As the charming guy he is. But this guy just did not take losing well. So I can certainly, as far as Phil Kelly and people like Graham McNeil's concerned, they were certainly gamers as well as rules writers, for sure.
Yeah, I know that for a fact for Phil. But it's just, what I meant is as a corporate culture, because I know at Riot, the corporate, I don't know what it was like at Blizzard, but the corporate culture was to play a lot. Yeah. And it's interesting that after that, I had never thought, what if someone didn't want to play? Yeah. And now you must have felt ostracized.
A bit. And you go to lunch on the Riot's amazing campus, and all the talk was a dialect I didn't understand because it was all the abbreviated terms from the game. And you sit down at a table with people and they're talking about the game they just played, and I understand about 50% of this.
That's fascinating though, as a culture to develop internally though. Like that must give a really strong not forced love of the brand, but intentionally
I believe I've still got friends there, and I believe they've eased back on that because they actually realised it was quite counterproductive.
Interesting.
To bring in people from wider backgrounds. It just made all your recruitment was very, very narrow and very one channel. It reinforced the cult, and they realised they weren't getting the breadth of experience that they really needed to grow the studio. So I will say that was back that was 10 years ago, more than that now. And they have apparently eased up way up on that now. So it's a broader church now.
Yeah, for sure.
So, random question about Riot and Workshop. So Workshop worlds existed. You added to existing worlds that was already had like its sort of lore built into it. Whereas when you went to Riot, you were doing the world building side of stuff.
Yes.
Would you say that was any harder, or was it just no different? Because from my point of view, I love world building. I love starting from the beginning and then working around that. Yeah. But I don't have like a bunch of already existing characters that I have to somehow roll into that story somehow.
I mean, that was sometimes challenging with some of the characters that were because it is a fantasy world, and you're trying to build a sort of parity between the factions, and some of the factions have got what would appear to be 20th century rocket launchers. How do you counter that? Well, you got magic, right? You got magic, and then you got the hex tech, right, which is a mixture of magic and technology. So you find ways to sort of wrestle stuff into some sort of commonality. But it's quite nice, if you've got a new faction you're going to work on, and look, we've got these sort of tentpole 4 or 5 characters, so they've all got to fit into the world. But other than that, we've got plenty of room to play with. So doing stuff with Bill, we were allowed the sort of 3 or 4 artists that were on that world building team. We got to pick. They let us pick which factions we wanted to own.
Oh, cool!
So, that's amazing. Who did you choose?
I got the Shadow Isles, so amazing. I got the Undead. Yeah. I got Bilgewater, so I got the Pirates.
Fantastic.
And I got Zorn, so I got the Hexchem, the dirty poison chemical.
That's great.
So Skaven, Pirates, and Undead. Nice.
Great choice.
Very easy, really.
Sweet.
That's fantastic.
Yeah. And then you dabble on other stuff, and it was incredibly inclusive as a studio as well. It's stuff like we're working on a new champion, and you just be encouraged to contribute stuff. So I remember when they'd got Jinx designed. She's quite a sort of figurehead character. But all her weaponry was modern. So they said, can you just see what you can do with this? So 15-minute sketch, and I did a shark, sort of turned her rocket launcher into a sort of shark, stylized shark, metal fucking thing, which became fish bones. Yeah. And I now have the Nerf gun life-size version of that.
Yeah, world famous. So world famous. You're talking about something that's like impacted millions of people.
No idea when you do a little doodle what might that end up being at somewhere like Riot, because it's
Did you take part in Arcane, or did you just watch it as a fan and was it?
No, but they were already when I was there, which was 5 years before, at least 5-6 years before the series was made, they were talking about a TV show, talking about an animation, and I recognized some key elements, some basic ideas of what I was doing and what we were doing at the time in the finished show, which was awesome.
Yeah.
And at the end of the first season, when Jinx, because I said, where's Fishbones? All the way through the first season, she's there, and the rocket launcher's not made an appearance. I'm like, oh. and then the last shot, she stood up, and she just brings the rocket launcher out.
Amazing.
It's an amazing scene. Have you watched Arcane?
No, it's on my list of things too, because you keep giving me a list of things to watch.
I apologise.
It's just
incredible.
It's the most incredible animation. Just
because I stumbled across Vox Machina, and I really enjoyed that, and I was like, well, this kind of feels up like my lane of stuff to watch as well, because I like fantasy and I didn't think I'd be that much into that kind of style of like anime, I guess you could say, but
I think Arcane's on another level.
Yeah.
Well, that's the thing. When it first aired, and I know people obviously being out in LA, people in the animation industry that were just, well, this has changed everything now. That's the standard. All our animation is going to have to look as good as that. And then they found out how long it took and how much it cost. I mean, oh no, it's fine. It's just an outlier. It's just a crazy thing on its own. I mean, it's fine.
Yeah, we've had that recently with General Games, right? You had Baldur's Gate, which kind of had that, like, you had CEOs coming out being like, you can't expect us to do this, which I thought was amazing. Like, just be like, we're not going to do that. And I was like, wow, that's one amazing statement by you as the person being a creator. Or like in charge of creators. I thought it was good. What was the other one that came out that was like world end? I thought it was it was Helldivers, wasn't it? That,
Helldivers,
again was just like kind of like game changer sort of a situation. Or even the small budget stuff that's come out recently with Expedition 33.
Oh God, I've seen it. I haven't played it, but I've seen the videos for it, the trailers and stuff. Yeah, man, holy shit.
Yeah, it was a really small group that left one of the large parent companies. I forget. I don't know. Even Peachy, it's French and it's still good.
Yes, I know you're going about this game.
All right, even though it's French,
need to check it out.
It's really good. You should check it out.
I'm still playing Oblivion remastered. I just love
I'm
Oblivion.
on Baldur's Gate 3. I was a year late to get Baldur's Gate 3 because my iMac was not up to snuff.
Okay.
So I had to wait to get a new machine and then Baldur's Gate 3. So
what did you play as?
I'm a Shadow Sorcerer with a level of Hexblade Warlock as well. Oh, because I just had this image in my head of what I wanted to do. Female elf.
No, fantastic.
But I'm already thinking, okay, when I go back, I'm gonna do like barbarian, maybe
another run.
Yeah, I'll probably do at least a second run. Yeah, and I'll take all the NPCs that I didn't use. The NPCs I picked to support the character that I was playing. I didn't need another warlock. I didn't need another wizard really. So I've got Lae'zel and Astarion and Shadowheart.
Yeah.
Okay.
But next time I'll take Karlach and.
See, Karlach's my favourite.
See, I missed her first time round. I was waiting to meet her, and I didn't meet her. So on YouTube, half my time playing that game was spent on YouTube,
working out what to do next.
So when I find out where she is, I go there, and all that's left is a bloodstain. Like, oh no, what is that?
See, I stumbled across Baldur's Gate, the original, by accident,
right?
And I fell in love with the game.
Yeah,
because I bought EverQuest. If everyone remembers EverQuest. And I didn't realise you needed an internet connection. So, because I was new to PC gaming. I mean, I played like all sorts of PC games, but I didn't, because I lived in the countryside, we didn't have the internet.
Right, wow.
So I didn't realise that was a thing that you need to play games. So I got this game, I was like, that's a fantasy game, that was cool, I'll get it. Went back to the house, started installing it, wouldn't install. I was like, the hell? You need what's the internet?
Oh no.
What is the internet? So I needed that. So I went back to, I think it was MVC or Woolworths, and they happily returned it because I said I've not been able to use it. And they're like, we can't give you a refund, but if you want to pick something out. So I was like, okay. So I looked, and there was this game called Baldur's Gate. Checked. I was like, internet connection? No, don't need that.
There you
go. Cool.
Hey,
so I got it, and then just fell in love. And that was the first time I kind of got Mrs. Peach into like D&D as well, because she saw me play, and I called myself Chris Peach as a character. Worst name ever. She was like, what's this? And then obviously in the stats, and when you start talking, interacting, it will say your name. She's like, oh, it actually talks back to you. I was like, yeah, it's mega, innit? She's like, oh, I'm going to make a character. Then she started playing. She's like completed all the games, and I never did.
Wow.
So she did all the Baldur's Gates, all the Icewind Dales.
Amazing. Has she done Baldur's Gate 3?
She not played Baldur's Gate 3.
Wow, Liz, if you're watching, it's about you're about to change your life. Yeah. It's amazing. Have you played it?
I've played it. I've not quite finished it. I've managed to find Jaheira.
Apparently everyone stops at Act 3.
Oh, really?
Apparently, like...
I'm in I'm probably about 2/3 of the way through Act 3. But yeah, when you get to the city,
it's too big.
It's too big. It's too overwhelming. There's so much going on. The noise and the hustle. I'm not surprised.
And I think people feel like they're going to make mistakes.
Yeah.
Like everything's a little bit more linear up till that point. And that's the data that they have, is that everyone just stops at Act 3 and just starts again.
Yeah. I put it down for a month at that point, but then came back to it. So I've got 2 of the Netherstones.
Oh, okay.
All right.
Well, I also stopped at Act 3. I was like, because I told Louise, I was like, I'm going to finish it this week. Yeah. And I just never finished it. Like, because I was like, no, I'm taking the day off work. I'm going to finish it. And she was like, you're still just sorting your inventory out. I was like, I don't know what I'm doing, Louise. Like, it's either it's going to break me or I'm going to stop playing. So I'll stop playing. Like, I had to make a choice.
I've not. I don't think I've got to Act 3 yet because where am I? I've just saved Jaheira and we've got to go to that castle and kill the. I forget his name now. It's been a while since I played it because I've been manically playing Oblivion, even though I've played that many times. Wow. I'm obsessed by that game. Wow. Just obsessed.
So after Riot, I mean, some people would say it's like a dream job, but like you decided to move on?
Yeah. Once I got once I no longer needed a visa, and once I no longer needed a sponsor to carry on living in America, I thought I want to kind of step away and kind of work on my own stuff, or be sort of freelance again. The day-to-day studio thing was again a bit like I like a little bit more freedom, a little bit more independence. So that's what I did. But that's like a decade ago now. Okay. And as is often the case, it gets a bit up and down. There's some really fun patches, some kind of like scrabbling around to find gigs. But that's the nature of the beast. So I don't mind that.
And you started your own you were part of a studio. Did you launch? Yeah.
So this was about 5 years ago. We because I worked some of the freelance stuff I was doing. I got back in with Games Workshop with Cubicle 7 on the Warhammer Fantasy Roleplay.
Wow, that's great.
That's where I met Andy Law, who was a producer, sort of commissioning art editor, creative writer there, a bit of an all-rounder really at Cubicle 7, certainly on Woofrup. And he commissioned a few pieces and we sort of struck it off. I think we found ourselves as sort of kindred spirits. And it got to a point where, and I said to him, well, if you ever decide you want to sort of head out on your own, because I like that. As much as I enjoy the independence, I do like having teammates. I don't think there's anything I've done over the years that hasn't been improved with collaboration.
Yeah.
So it's always like, a little indie studio would be really fun. So when he left Cubicle 7 and was putting together a little group, he asked me to be kind of the art director for it. Yeah. So I said, yeah, let's do that.
Nice.
Did he Ocean's 11 you? Did he I'm putting together a team? Did he hit you with that line, or was it more subtle?
No, that was about it.
Yeah, that was about right.
Yeah, he's not big on the subtle.
Yeah. Sweet.
I'm putting together a team.
And what does the team do? What is?
Predominantly fantasy RPGs. That's what we've been working on, building a game world and more recently a sort of a set of rules, a game engine, if you will.
Yeah.
Which we weren't planning on doing originally. It was all going to be system agnostic, which the products are.
Yeah.
But we also realised that it'd be probably good to get a nice little set of rules together with it as well. So that's what we're doing. But we've also made the new edition of Dark Deeds.
Yeah.
Republished that. Which was again
which is available on Modifius, is that right?
Oh yes, I published through Modifius, co-published through Modifius.
And what is Dark Deeds?
It's a essentially card game, but board and counters and dice and stuff as well. It's a game of malicious minions. You all play sort of scumbags in the service, fantasy games, scumbags in the service of an unnamed shadowy patron who sets you out on the street to perform all these dark deeds in the advancement of his criminal, shady agenda. So you end up sort of robbing and murdering and battling your fellow minions, your fellow players as well. So it's been described as a sort of a Terry Pratchett meets Warhammer Old World.
Yeah.
So it's sort of, I call it Grimsicle.
Grimsicle's great. That's great.
That's the best title.
And it's a fun. it's got really good replayability as well because it's cards and dice, and there's several decks of cards and several hands of cards. So you end up getting, every time you play it, it'll be a little bit different. And there's a series of citizens march down this street that you've got to navigate. And some of them you'll rob, some of them you'll try to avoid. Some of them will be nemesis that you've been instructed to take out. So every time you play it, you get wildly different sort of results. So it's really fun.
Yeah,
that's super fun.
Go on. I was going to say, I kind of like the idea of like there's more games. I mean, obviously that's a card game, but I play a few miniature games, and I like the idea of the main characters being the baddies sometimes as well. I mean, I suppose you could argue that 40k, no one's a good guy, right? Yeah. But like, I play a game called Guards of Traitor's Toll, and the guards are dickheads.
Yeah.
And they're not nice. Yeah. And the Traitor's Toll is like, it was originally like a toll bridge where bandits just hung out and then just bullied people going down the pathway, like, give us the money otherwise you get stabbed. Yeah. And then it turned into a city, and then the guards are probably like ancestors of those, or the offspring of the people that are original thugs and stuff. So everyone's cruel and not very nice. But you play the guards, who are just exceptionally cruel and mean in comparison to like the civilians, who are also mean and not very nice. And I kind of like that kind of, you just get to be a bit bad and do mean things in a game, because we don't do it in real life. Right?
Yeah. It's like when I try and play Baldur's Gate and I'm like, I'm going to do the evil run now.
You never do.
And I never do the evil run. I don't. And actually, evidence suggests that most people don't do the evil run, which I think is quite
interesting. It's
really
hard doing it, because I've done it with, was it Old Republic? Because depending on where you go, and I think Mass Effect does the same thing, you get like the dark side rating and the light side rating. And as you get worse and worse in the dark side, because I wanted to do it because they did the light side version, all your characters get darker as well. And when you look at like your profile picture, like normally you're like, oh, I'm so noble and good. But when you get evil, you become more hunched over, your character does. And like looks really sinister. And all your other, like your party do the same thing. And I wanted to do that. But I was always like, I don't think I can kill that guy.
Well, the character, the minions that you play in Dark Deeds are just fairly inept and ineffectual. And the guards are our souls. So you don't... You're rarely called upon to perform any act that would genuinely make you feel uncomfortably evil. You know, so Dark Deeds was sort of the first thing I did after I left Riot. I thought, I can do what I like now. What am I going to do?
That's got to be really tough, because you've been involved in easily some of the... I mean, if you just take League of Legends, Warhammer, and World of Warcraft into context, they are probably the three biggest IPs that have shaped. I'm trying to think now in gaming, but also maybe just general nerd stuff. I guess Lord of the Rings, but not really, because like that was just a film. Like when it comes to games, you've been a huge part of, I would say, the most seminal, like landmark things that we've had. That's quite a lot to like go, what do I do today?
That's a lot. How do I top that? Can I top that? Have I truly peaked?
I would say you're allowed to take 5 minutes on that.
Well, that was it. I lay on the sofa for a month going, But it's also, I also realized that my whole career had been very product centric, you know. I needed to I was never really doing art for art's sake. You know, and I thought, I could do an art book, just paint what I like. I'm like, and then I got a call from Andy Chambers, because Dark Deeds was his vision, and he said, we're looking for an artist for it. We've got about 3 months to do the whole thing. I said, well, that's going to be tight. But I immediately got very excited by it. So it's thanks to Andy really giving me the call that sort of. Lit the fire under my ass that was clearly needed. Otherwise, I would still be lying on that sofa.
You'd still be like,
Do you think that like 3 month deadline kind of like lit a fire then?
Yeah.
Because I sometimes find like short deadlines, I get more out of my
I mean,
creativity.
It was when we made the new edition, I actually spent more like 6 months refining it, going over the artwork. Certainly, there was a bunch of pieces of art that I did that I was not happy with. So it's right, I'm going to go back and redo those. Plus, we did a whole bunch of additional art because we sort of expanded the game a bit anyway. But yeah, that sort of 3 months was like furiously banging the art out. So I would. Right up to the end of the year, it was right above Christmas. I was working on that.
Are you the sort of creative who like is really fascinated in what everyone's doing? Like, are you constantly checking out like new RPGs and new artwork, or are you kind of like, it's just my thing, I like doing my stuff? Like, I'm kind of asking a question about, do you like look at other small like artistic RPGs, I guess like Morkborg would be an example, or stuff like that? Or are you just like, no, I like doing my own thing. I don't really look at other stuff.
No, I always like to see what else is going on.
Okay.
Yeah, I try not to let it influence what I do too much.
Yeah, of course.
Because you can end up just chasing your own tail or desperately trying to pursue what I sometimes subconsciously just I fell in love with the look of that. I want to do something like that.
Yeah.
So I think it's always important to kind of keep a distance. I remember I was really surprised when somebody asked John Blanche in an interview, "Oh, do you look at other artists? Have you seen what else is out there?" And John's like, "No, never.
Yeah.
I don't want anywhere else to influence what I do."
Yeah.
I'm like, wow, that's a certain strength and confidence in your style and your choices, your creative choices that you make. That I don't think that's common.
Yeah.
I think most of us are too, particularly with the internet these days, are too easily swayed by what other people are doing. So I try not to, but it's hard to resist it. I don't have John's determination to just go, no, I just do my thing.
There's definitely things out there that can influence or at least help spark an idea, right? So like, if I'm like scrolling on Instagram and I see like, I don't know, Luthien99 who does the Amberfall Stormcast stuff. He's made this basically Cities Sigma. It's just really grim. It looks really cool.
Yeah.
Every now and again, like, I get an image. I'm like, that's quite cool. I wonder, it's time I did some like new stuff. Not even looking at like what he's done or how he's painted it, but it's just like that kind of like spark to make me go back to revisiting making up my own towns again or whatever. So I think that there's some value in it, but I definitely don't like looking at other than like you guys supporting you and watching your videos and other people
I don't outside of what I do, I don't look at any Warhammer content at all.
Same.
But I'm also not a seminal artist, so it doesn't really matter what I do.
Yeah.
It's not really that important.
Well, I don't know. Still made the best paint video in history.
That's true. That's true.
I do look at a lot of miniature painting stuff because I like the entertainment value, and I still paint toy soldiers, and I don't paint them that well.
Yeah.
So because I back in the day, I won 2 Golden Demons.
I never have. So well done.
1990. Yeah.
Look at you! Congratulations. Yeah. That's amazing.
So I was a figure painter before.
What were the golden?
I won Best Monster, which was a Great Unclean one.
Ooh.
And I won silver for Mounted, which is a goblin with a trumpet on an eagle.
Oh, cool.
So, with that said, are there any like artists or mini painters now who you're a big fan of? Like, or that you like that spring to mind?
Louise Sugden.
Yeah, obviously, apart from Louise.
Of course.
Yeah, of course.
I like the guys at Cult of Paint.
Oh, yes. Yeah, obviously Henry's the best, though. Yeah,
well, Henry, because I did an interview with them way back, and I said he's like the miniature painting Barry White. Because you just listen to his voice and just
hi, Henry here.
Talking in
Henry here. Welcome to See
I
Paint.
can see that.
Yeah. Henry's the best. And he's great too, obviously.
And I like Ninjan because I like his stuff is as much about the sort of the zen of painting as it is about the technique.
Yeah.
Oh man, I'm gonna not name enough people now.
You don't need to pick loads.
Quite a few.
See, that's the problem. Is like when you start picking one, you're like, oh, I've got to say this guy, otherwise they'll get upset.
Well, I just started the Grimdark Compendium. Some of their stuff, which is techniques way outside my ballpark, and I'm just kind of looking at I just want to do some really nice weathering on these Space Marines. I couldn't help but buy. Okay, who's doing the one that I think is achievable for me? Yeah. It's not, again, like you said about building an army, being able to, I don't want to spend, I have a Plague Marine army from 6th edition, and it took me 18 months because every single miniature is kit bashed from an Imperial miniature with a Forge World conversion kit on it. And it's just, I haven't got the time.
Was that the old sort of heretic conversion kit that they did? Because they did like this like load of like stabby glove hands and stuff.
No,
like
it was it was basically head and torso and then shoulder pads.
Oh, okay, yeah.
Yeah, so loads of those.
Yeah.
And then just regular Marines with lots of holes drilled in them.
Nice, best way.
I had a breakdown of that painting just last night.
Oh, really?
Yeah, I'm painting some tokens because we make tokens just for gaming.
Nice.
And I really want to go to like some trade shows. I keep going to trade shows with Louise and Peachy, but I actually want to take some of the stuff that we make for my trade show. And I was like, well, I best paint it. Yeah. And I painted last night. And then it's at that point I remembered I'm terrible at painting. Right? all the enthusiasm, I was there like, oh, that looks awful. And I posted about it last night. I'm like, doesn't look bad. I was like, well, you're blind. You're blind and you can't see. So painting's hard and will continue to be hard forever, I think.
Yeah.
It's just a tough.
Yeah, I mean, for me, it's getting to a point where I'm kind of comfortable with it, with the finish, with the level of detail. So I started scaling down the kind of projects I would do. I think I'm not going to be painting armies, am I? I'm never going to get through another army. Okay, let's try a kill team. And I picked Orc kill team, and I thought that's going to be like 7 miniatures. No, 18.
No, yeah.
and again, kit bashed every single one, so that took forever. Okay, maybe I'll do an Underworlds warband. Maybe what's the smallest Underworlds warband? Oh, it's an Orc one. It's only got 3 figures in it. Okay, I've got one of them painted.
Third of the way there.
Yeah, I suppose.
That's a very good point.
That's a way to
I mean,
think
between
about
me
it.
and you, Rob, though, it's like I can't remember. I do like reviews on new rule sets that come out.
Right.
So I look at a lot of game systems out there, a lot of companies, and I'm just like, oh, there's this new game I found. I'm going to talk about that. Like this week, for instance, it's like there's a game called 200 Hours. It's been out for a while, but well, come to that in a minute. But this is kind of like a brief overview, but I was just like, I've just been getting into World War II because Charlie is, and I'm like, we watched Dirty Dozen, and we're watching Guns and Navarone. And I was like, oh, 200 Hours, that's like sneaky, stabby, punch fascists in the face. Let's do a video on that, and that's just been really fun. But I struggle to retain the words and the rules, but I kind of like have loads of bullet points to remind me. But from a painting point of view, I'm really comfortable. I guess you're the other way around. You can like retain all that information and keep it locked in your headspace.
Maybe to a degree.
It's definitely better at it than I am.
Maybe, yeah, I guess so. I just had to do the review. The FAQ came out for Age of Sigmar. There's a 3-month balance patch.
Right.
It came out today. And that's not the difficult part. The difficult part is the formatting. It's a 72-page PDF, one of them, several PDFs. And they're like, you get to page like 32, they're like, there's a change, right? And it just says new. And it goes, change to this. And you're like, did it say before? Why did you change it? Does anyone know? And it's just me and 200 people online together being like, all right, lads, let's get this together. In fact, so much so, like, someone had to build a website, Tobias, shout out to Tobias, someone had to build a website that stores all the old data until it updates to the new data so we can cross-reference. Otherwise,
interesting.
It would just be hundreds of people out there playing games being like, what does this mean?
Yeah.
Like, and I'm like, why don't you just say, like, we've done this. So being able to retain the information is useful to a degree, but there's only so much any person can do.
Yeah.
Because it's complicated.
There's some games that just click with me and stay with me, like Warcry, even though I've not played it for like nearly a year, and I still remember all the rules. Silver Bayonet, I've played like many, many times, because they're quite straightforward rules, but there's like 200 Hours, there's a lot more cards involved, and there's a few little extra rules that I've got to remember, but it's not that much. But I just need to read through the book a couple of times.
I'm also lucky. I run an event every weekend, so there's always someone who's like, there's this edge case. Can you answer the question? So I get asked that question a lot. So I pretty much know all of the edge cases because they're something that gets brought up every single week.
Sense.
But my experience of people playing at events is that 80% of people are just playing.
Yeah.
Like, they don't really care if they're figuring it all the way out, and that's okay.
Yeah.
And that's been my experience all the time. That like,
I mean, I found with even again, not with the ever with the end goal of actually genuinely playing games. But if I've bought a boxed unit of miniatures, I'm gonna go online and say, okay, how should I be? What weapons should I be equipping these guys? How should I arm them? Just so if I ever get to the table, nobody's going to laugh at my choices. Because I haven't just put them together because that's the prettiest version.
I think what's also nice is when the weapon you give them makes sense. Like, for instance, like the difference between, I don't know, like a rotor cannon or a las cannon.
Right.
You're like, that the las cannon is great for like exploding tanks. So maybe in your head, you put an extra like ammo rack thing on or whatever it might be, because it like the context of what the thing is adds a little bit to the sculpt or the building and painting, I think, to a degree, I think.
I do, just going with what you were saying about the building side of the thing, I do find that like with all the other games I play, it's not really a problem. Like Guards of Traitors Toll, for instance, it recommends you have a mix of weapons.
Okay.
And some people not having a spare hand so you can arrest people. Right. So like most of the time you'll be like, give him a shield. He's got a sword, give him a shield. It's like, it's recommended not always having a shield or not always having like a bow and arrow or whatever. Just like having one guy with a hand free is quite useful in the game.
For arresting?
For arresting.
Can you not put your arrow down?
Apparently it makes it a lot easier.
No, absolutely not. You just can't do it.
Or just stab him with the arrow and go and arrest.
Just pin his cloak in place. Yeah. But that removes a little bit of stress because it's like, just have a mix. It's good to have a mix. But like with Kill Team or like even like Legion, Star Wars Legion, like I'll be like, oh, I'm going to give this guy a rocket launcher. I'm going to build my sister's novitiate squad like this. And people are like, you went with that option.
Yeah.
that's brave. I'm like, why? What's wrong with this option? Why would they put it in the box if it? Why is this bad? Well, now I feel stressed because I've done. Is this a faux pas? And I hate having that kind of level of stress. It's like, can I just not build stuff and play with it? And have fun?
Yeah, and the other thing I found at the sort of the extreme end of that is I occasionally look at sort of tournament winning lists.
Yeah,
and it's often so dull. It's like, yeah, really, you've got to fill like 5 units of that.
Yeah.
Well, I'm never going to play in a tournament, so maybe it's not an issue.
No,
but I'd like to know why that's a winning combination.
I've definitely seen, like, when I've played against armies, I'm like, oh God, I can see why you'd go with 5 units of that, but I don't think I've got the energy to paint that. I just want to paint lots of different stuff.
I think what's good is maybe they hide power behind theme, which has been like a kind of semi-inconsistent success story of modern Games Workshop design. Like when it comes to rules, that like if you like, because I always say that like one man's theme is another man's spam. For instance, right now with Net Deepkin, the models, the Alapexes, the sharks are quite good. They're maybe taking too many of them is quite strong. Yeah. But there's a sub-faction, it's called Battle Formation, but sub-faction, called Deep Sea Predators or Aether Sea Predators. And it's all about lots of monstrous sharks, right? So you build it and you put it on the table and it's very strong and it wins lots of events at the moment. Yeah. But you look at that, someone normally says that's spam because it's really strong.
Yeah.
But on the flip side of that, the Arachnarok spiders for Glimpse by Gits are terrible. They've always been terrible.
Right.
They're so bad. And I don't know why. They've been bad for years. Like, they never get a points reduction. They're like perfectly balanced, absolute dog shit. And then no one but if someone, shout out to my friend Toby, or there's a really lovely lady down in London, I forget her name. She always runs loads of spiders at every event and just loses loads because they're terrible. But that's themey, right?
Yeah,
like there's this really interesting like scale where it's like, that's cool because it's rubbish, but that's too good. Because it's too good, but they're the same thing. Yeah. And I've always found like it's more emotive than actual, and I don't really know how to process that. I always find like
how people theme armies really interesting. And I remember having this debate once in retail because someone was like my mate Duncan, who built like an army. He built it based off Dawn of War, and it was, I think, a first company. He'd used the first company and built it based on that. So it was like, this is what first company looks like. This is Dawn of War. I'm building it based on that. And someone was like, that's not very themed. Because I think it was like a mini tournament. We'll get marked for themed. And like Duncan's like, this is themed. Because it's like based off the game. It's based off a first company. It's like, no. Theme is like all assault troops or all devastators. I think it's really interesting seeing other people's perspectives of what theme a theme is.
The first time first game I had when I finished my 6th edition Plague Marine army after all that meticulous building, it was when I was at Blizzard, because Blizzard had a gaming night every Tuesday night. We took over the cafeteria and played tabletop games. And unfortunately, my first opponent was a min-maxer, who very competitive tournament player, and I was up against his unpainted drop pod dreadnought army, and he tabled me turn 2.
Oh God!
Just pulling my miniatures out, just everything coming off the table.
Did it take longer to set up?
Yeah. I mean, he felt bad. He felt after he destroyed the army. He felt bad, and he played again with a softer list because he's always got various lists. So but he still absolutely defeated me. And at that point, I determined I wasn't going to. I made it about the unpainted army, and I said I don't want to paint against. I don't want to play against an old grey plastic army.
Super fair.
Play. I want painted armies. But it was also about my approach to the hobby for a game night was a lot of chatting, talking about your miniatures, doing the noises. You know, talking about why you painted that kind of stuff. And he was just about no, I'm here to play. I'm here to play and win. And he had other players in the group that he could do that with. They could do that. Hardcore tournament player, but the rest of us were more about just hanging out and talking bullshit about why we'd made our miniatures that way, why we'd painted them that way.
I personally find that to be most event people as well. Right. Like I think those people are like in the minority to like an insane degree. Yeah, and they generally exist in these like weird spaces, like a Blizzard game night. You're like, what are you doing? You should just be trying to hang out and have fun. That's my experience.
See, I had it was one lunchtime. Shout out to Tobias, who was in the German translation team. Really nice guy. He's like, I want to play a game of 40k with you. And I was like, I'm going to use because at that time I'd built a load of Drakari, but it was a witch cult army. And I'd done like the Red Grief, they were called. So I'd give more red armor, blue hair and stuff. And we played a game, and I was like having loads of fun. I was like, I've got it all set up. I've got all my raiders and stuff. I was like, cool, let's play a game. It was like a lunchtime. We're going to do it over a couple of lunches. And 45 minutes, I was done. It destroyed me. I didn't even get a turn.
Oh, God.
I literally didn't get a turn because I think he had Tau. But what was really funny was, I think it was Nick Horth. I want to say Nick Horth. It could have been someone else. Was sat playing a game. He was one of the games developers, listening in. And then there was a bit of an errata after.
Oh, no. Wow.
And then this Tobias guy was like, oh, no, my army's changed. I was like, oh, no. Oh, no. I wonder how that happened. Maybe because you tabled someone in like 45 minutes before they even moved their army.
You also did a lot of the art for Necromunda, right? Because me and Peach are big Necromunda fans.
That was one of my favorite projects because it's still within 40K universe, but very fresh and contained and different. And you got to play around with characters that you never imagined yourself getting to paint before.
Did you have much of a brief to start off with, like with what things would look like, or was it? Because we were saying earlier, like you'd have models to work to. What was they? Because obviously some of those models would have existed by that point, right?
I think Juggz had done. He'd done all the concepts.
Yeah.
And had done at least the Escher gang. If not one of everything. I can't remember exactly. And because John would have done some sort of establishing pieces to give a feel and a flavor and a nature for the location and some of the characters. And then it was, I think miniatures were probably done before I did the art. But the greatest compliment actually I got paid, I think, at my time there was from Jeff Taylor, who's the cover artist for the book. Because he was so he was painting his version of Goliath. Yeah. And I was painting my version of Goliath for the source book.
Yeah. Love the source book.
And they're very, very different, but they're fundamentally the same thing. And Jeff saw my cover and said, you've painted a proper Goliath. What I've done is painted big dudes going to a fancy dress party dressed as Goliath. So, wow, Jeff, that's amazing. Thank you.
There's so much depth to that as well, though. I mean,
how do you feel about the of all the IPs you've worked on? Like, I guess maybe we should ask more about the wargaming ones than the others. But like, is there any of the IPs, especially coming out of Games Workshop, that you find to be the most interesting? It feels like Necromunda to me is the broadest and has most appeal. Or actually, is you like, no, actually 40K is an amazing setting. I'm not asking you to pick, but like, is there one that you find fascinating still?
No, it's tended to be sort of more sort of dialed in than that. It's tended to be it'll be a certain faction within an IP that I've really liked. So the Escher gangers, is specifically for Necromunda, or the broad church of undead in the 4th edition, or 4th and into 5th edition before it became fractured. That I really liked, or Skaven, a great fun to draw.
Are you excited about, because obviously you love undead and pirates, did you get excited about Total War Vampirates?
Vampirates.
Did you see that?
No.
So in Total War Warhammer, so Warhammer Fantasy, there's a pirate undead faction called, are they called Vampires? No, I'm making that up.
I wouldn't have thought so.
I've made that up. But they are an undead pirate faction. What are they called? Undead Coast?
The Vampire Coast, isn't it?
Vampire Coast, that's what they're called.
Yeah.
Oh, maybe I just called the wrong thing.
Yeah, but did you get Vampirates? It works for me.
Yeah, Vampirates. Yeah.
No, I haven't seen that yet. So.
Very exciting. Well, very exciting, at least in Total War. Whether or not it ever becomes like a miniature range, that would be.
It was always like one of those things that was on the map, wasn't it? It was the Vampire Coast, and you had like the colony of Skeggy, which was like a Norse colony. Stuff like that. Skeggy, of course.
For people not from England, that is a actually really beautiful resort location you can go to if you ever want to come over to England and go to Skeggy.
Yeah, I used to go there every summer with my grandparents.
It's a bit like LA.
Skegness.
Yeah. It's really similar.
It's just like LA.
Just
without
like
the
LA.
weather and the nice scenery and the clean beach.
What was it that attracted you to like Escher as an IP?
Just because you don't get to draw girls very often in Warhammer.
That's true. I thought about that.
I would say it was because Escher was my first gang that I got, and it was based off like the stuff. Because we got the box set which had like Orlocks and Goliaths in it, the plastic ones. But we all knew we wanted to get a gang. So my brothers, even my sister, my family, I've got 3 other siblings. We all got like a gang for Christmas. Right. And my brother wanted like Van Sars. My other one wanted Delax. I wanted Eschers. There's a bigger picture somewhere. I don't know where it is, but that piece of art with the Esches.
Oh, the gang, yeah.
The gang. It's like, it just tells a whole story, because I always like looked at that. I used to spend ages looking at it and going, what's happened to her? Who's she shooting at?
Right.
So it's like the whole story building from art. I think that really helped me like think a bit more about story building. Actually.
Yeah, I mean, any chance you get to, because obviously a lot of the artwork is just a single vignetted figure with no background. But any time you get to throw a bit of story in there, implied narrative, is always really cool.
Yeah,
I've always, as a effectively tournament competitive player, is pretty much what I am. Like, as in the hobby, I've always, even then, far removed from any creative endeavor, I've always said that it's the art that I think is the success story of Warhammer. I think it's all those iconic pieces.
Yeah.
Is there an iconic piece to you external to your work that you think is like a seminal piece or driving force or something that's... But editing Rob's going to hate this question because he's going to have to go find the picture now and put it over.
I'm sure I can help.
really should have thought this through.
I think when John Ballance retired, and I wrote a little piece for Facebook, and of all the pieces I could have picked for John's, it was a full page Space Wolf army shot.
Yeah,
just black and white pencil drawing, and it just had it beautifully highlighted the difference between toy soldier and the inspiration on the vision behind that. What would that character be in the real world? And just that upping of detail and fidelity was just like really helpful and really informative to me, because I always have a tendency to actually just draw the miniature, even to the point where my proportions are wrong. Like the heads are too big on a lot of my. You look at my Space Marines and stuff. The heads it looks like the toy soldier in a setting. I haven't made that change, and partly because I sort of liked to just draw the toy soldier.
Okay.
But over time, I've learned to actually, it's okay to put a more interpretive spin on it and go, no, imagine that these are real characters in the real world, and the toy soldier is a toy soldier representation of that real character, and the illustration is a representation of that real character, and it's okay if they don't completely mesh.
Yeah.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Yeah, that is interesting. And you recently have started to work with or on Trench Crusade.
Yes. Started this beginning of this year.
Ooh, okay, how are you finding that as a project?
Like every other X Games workshop had drawn into the black hole that is
Trench Crusade. Yeah.
I'm happy to be there. Great. Again, feels like the old days at Games Workshop. It feels like inclusive and creative. And Mike Francina has been fantastic to work with. Thomas Perrinen as well.
Did you ever work with Thomas at any point? Or
our paths crossed, but he worked on. I think the Circle of Blood Warhammer scenario pack that I did the cover for. But I don't think we worked. I was working remotely at that point, and I don't think we ever sat down and had a chat. So it's only recently I got to know Thomas. And Mike, I found out, I realised was actually had a piece of my original artwork that he bought a few years ago because he's ex-Blizzard. He's got the horned rat icon from the Skaven thing that I did hanging on his wall. So, and as soon as I saw his art, particularly the stuff he was doing for Trench Crusade, that seminal stuff, was like, oh my God, this is going to be big.
You got a particular favourite faction for Trench Crusade?
Yeah, I've asked for 2 sets of miniatures, and they're not turned up yet.
Oh, yes. Yeah.
So it's the Trench Pilgrims, and then the Seven-Headed Serpent.
Ooh, are they the undeady ones?
No, that's
because I'm surprised you're not gone for the undead ones. Oh yes,
because that's the Nurgly one again.
Yeah.
And ultimately, when Trench Ghosts turn up, because that was the faction that because Thomas said, "Well, what do you want to draw?" And I said, and he mentioned Trench Ghosts because I was doing concept art as well as illustration. They hadn't had any concepts done for Trench Ghosts. I said, I guess back to my undead again. With First World War Undead, yeah, can I do that, please?
Yeah, amazing.
Yeah, that's wicked.
That's cool. And you said it was like feels like a bit like old workshop. Like, in what way would you say?
In that there's no, it's creatively led. There's no rules applied to it. You can I would draw stuff. Thomas would see the sketches and say, right, I've written them into the rules now.
Okay,
so
good.
like, whoa, yeah, that's amazing.
Yeah, he definitely is a tour de force, and also feels like he's very respectful of others around him, like the creatives. He's like, we had him on the show, and he was just bigging up everybody else. That felt like his thing, which I thought was really wonderful.
Yeah,
like in a leadership role.
inscrutable Finlander as well, though.
Yeah, he's
Sometimes
very
hard to get a beat
Finnish.
on him.
Yeah, he's very Finnish. That's so true.
But a fan of Sharp, and that's all that matters to me.
Oh, well, yeah. There you go. There you go.
We had a little bit of Sharp talk.
Nice.
I had one question to ask you. If you don't mind, I was going to do a couple of the Patreon questions.
Yeah, go for it.
If that's all right.
Yeah. Then we'll take a break and we'll do a Patreon episode.
Yes, we'll do. Oh, we'll do the Patreon questions on the Patreon episode. Nice.
That makes sense.
Nice. Is there one so I'm going into workshop again.
Yeah.
Apologies.
No. I mean, that's kind of.
Because I mean, obviously, our viewers are into that.
Absolutely. I would have just asked you about Wrath of the Lich King for maybe 45 minutes.
I had a point about that. It reminded me. I had a staff member who took like several weeks off to play that. Used his holiday in. I was like,
what a great choice! An absolute great
I wasn't even
choice.
angry. I was just like, go for it. Knock it out. Is there a range or a character in the Games Workshop universe that you always wanted to illustrate or draw but never got a chance to do?
Yeah, so like a thing that you left behind.
Damn, I really wanted to do this guy and never got a chance.
Adeptus Sororitas at the time.
Because
although I did end up getting to do a couple of cards for them for the 40K.
Oh, so you never would have done any like little vignettes in the books?
And that would have been, I think, again, because I thought they were super cool.
Yeah.
So,
and you would have given them proper like Mad Donna Alanti booby armor.
I know.
As well.
I think that.
I think you should have done.
Well, then you've made your nun a bit sexy, and
there's spikes for taking
that's
out
awkward.
heretics.
That's awkward. I agree.
Yeah. For stabbing the heretics.
They're like are you looking at these? Stab. That's kind of what they're for, really, isn't it?
Yeah, that's weird.
I don't know.
That's weird. Are we all agreeing? Because you're so famous and so seminal, do you all super agree that Chaos Dwarfs are the coolest faction that's been ever made in Warhammer?
Did you ever do any Chaos Dwarfs?
I did. Big old chunk of the artwork for the original stuff. Yeah.
So therefore, the coolest.
They're up there.
Sure, you don't want to say definitely, so I can quote you from that.
You know what he thinks are cool? Ashes.
Yeah, I know. I was like, maybe I can get a quote, but no, not
if they had an exclusively female Chaos Dwarf unit,
then yes,
possibly
that would be cool. They brought out some female dwarfs for Kharadron Overlords recently, which was quite cute. Yeah. Which led to the question: where were they before? Yeah, which then me and a lot of people online said that they were always just inside the boat.
Yeah.
And now they've gained some sort of like suffragette style like freedom, and now they're out the boat. And that's cute. That's cute. So Chaos Dwarf ladies just waiting for their moment in
I think so.
Yeah, for their liberation.
Yeah.
Yeah, maybe they got to blow up a couple of like temples or something. I don't know what.
Maybe they're just like Conan just spinning a wheel around in the desert somewhere.
The ladies are.
Yeah. But they're like going to be really buff when they turn up. It's just like, here come the muscle mummy dwarfs.
There you go.
Well, it's been super lovely to have you on the show.
It's been great to be here.
And especially sorry that Louise isn't here. Obviously that would have been much better.
I hope she's feeling better. Yeah.
She isn't. She just messaged me actually. I was just checking up on her. No, she's like, it's time for a nap. So she's ill, but hopefully she'll be back next week.
Yes.
We can only hope. But I know she'll be kicking herself to have missed this. Yeah. So I hope you've enjoyed yourself.
I have done very much. Thanks for having me.
We feel very honoured that you're here. So thank you. And we're going to do another bit more of a chat on Patreon. If that's okay with you.
Sure.
That's fun. Where we'll drop the real gossip.
All right.
About Chaos Dwarfs being the
all
coolest.
those things you were saying before we went live about Games Workshop.
And how like Blizzard are going to do Chaos Dwarfs. I don't know.
I heard they were doing Ashes first.
Yeah, that would be great. A special thank you from us, and hope everyone has enjoyed this. Please do leave some love in the comments below. We'll see you soon. Before we go, let's finish now.
Oh yeah.
I've got a new workflow thing, Peach.
Oh.
Just move your microphone, if you could both move your microphone, please.
Okay.
And just look in the camera for a moment. Just pose. Just whatever you want. Thanks. Yeah, that's great. It's just whatever the band would do, whatever the band Ragdolls would do.
Is that what you're doing? Thumbnails, and then you just merge them together?
So then,
smart.
You see what I mean?
Yeah, very, yeah. So they're doing like a silly fake.